Hey, good afternoon everybody. Today I'm going to show you how to make lemon loaf. I did quite a bit of research for this. Had to do 3 or 4 experiments to get it just right, but it came out really good. You can always tweak the lemon part depending on your taste. Now if you put too much lemon juice it will taste sour, and if you put too much lemon extract it will taste bitter. Okay, I settled for middle ground, and the taste comes out quite nice. And I did sort of jack up the amount of lemon juice in the frosting, so it has a really nice tart flavor, but not so much that it gets runny, because if you do that it's just going to like run down the side of your cake and you're going to lose like half of it. Some recipes you will find will say that the butter and everything and all the cold stuff like the sour cream and whatnot must be at room temperature. Now, it will bake better and faster, but there's a way around that, and I'll show you this right now. So you get your butter in a dish and just start working at it with a knife, like a little butter knife. Now once the pieces are fairly small, because you actually want this to be on the harder side than not, because if you let the butter melt completely, this is going to wind up greasy and it'll separate and ooh. So get that in your stand mixer. Yes, you can do this by hand. It's going to take forever. You can do with this a hand mixer. That won't be too bad. Like that. Just get that going. And you just want to whip it up a bit. Not enough to melt it, but just enough that you can start to see it get slightly frothy. Don't worry about tamping any of that down. Put in all the sugar at once. When it looks like the sugar is not going to fly everywhere, you can edge the speed up, but if it turns out it's all flying out the top, calm it down again. Now when that looks like chunky snow, you're safe to put in your first egg. And again, I find a lot of these internet recipes are a little too fussy. I don't know if they want more ads or who knows, but they really kind of make it more complicated than it needs to be. So like you don't have to put them all like 1 egg at a time. Just put all the eggs in. Actually, seriously, I tried this once and I threw like all of the wet stuff in at one time and it came out just fine. Okay? So that's good. Next, the sour cream. Now I like to kind of work around the beater if I can avoid getting this off. It's just way faster. I will get a scraper for this because you're going to need one at the end anyways. Just scrape this down to make sure all the sugar is in before you put the flour. Very important. Okay, so that's all the bits on the bottom. Next, put your flavors. Vanilla, lemon juice. I don't get fancy on this because there's no such thing as natural lemon extract that I know of, and it probably an arm and a leg if there is. Be very careful measuring this stuff, okay? You do not want to over pour. This is highly potent. And once you smell it, you're going, oh, that's where they get that. Yeah, that's where they get that. mix that up a bit. Baking powder and the flour. Now I have this nice 1 cup that I've got my icing sugar or confectioner's sugar or whatever you call it sugar. And so there's the tablespoon and the teaspoon. Now a couple of drops extra won't matter that much, just make sure you don't lose control of it. So what you're going to do is just stir, 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 stir. Very important that you get all the dried bits off the bottom of the cup now, because you are just going to let this rest and kind of work its magic on the side while the cake is baking. And then you're going to have to let the cake cool off completely before you put this on, or it will just go everywhere. And no, it doesn't really look very nice if you scrape it off and try to put it on again, alright? Okay, so we have got this very apparent frosting. Okay, nice consistency. Set that aside. Now, if you are a grease and flour your pan person, do that. Personally, I prefer parchment. It is just so much easier. Okay. 1 strip in the bottom across. You don't have to get too fussy about that. One strip the other way. Okay, now what I'm going to do is, because these ones are longer, I'm going to swap them. Because what you want to do is you want the longer piece at the bottom to use as handles to lift the cake out when it's done. Okay, so we're just going to kind of crunch that down a bit more and just set it to the side for the time being. Oven is hot. Do not use convection, the cake will burn. This I add in portions, 1/2 to 1/3. And the key with this stuff is you want everything mixed in without any lumps, or 1/2 is good, yeah. But you don't want to whip it so long that gluten develops, because if you do that, you will get a tough cake, right? And if you don't whip it enough, then it'll just like fall apart on you. So there's a happy medium, and this is in all things. So at first, when you want to get that mixed in, you do it very light. Get your spatula, scrape it down. Plus, you got to remember that the baking powder is your lift, so you don't want to take too long on this, or you're going to lose those lovely bubbles in the middle, right? Just toss the rest of that in. When it begins to form a mass, turn it off, scrape the sides. Smelling like heaven. That's how you know you hit the right proportions. Okay, so now is magic time. Alright? So you want to turn it up. Watch it extremely carefully. Now, I'll turn it down so you can see. There may be a dab of butter there, oh well. Or sour cream. Now, what you want to do is you want to test it now. See when it comes off the batter like that, that it's just that lovely, kind of really thick batter, but it's not tough. Now it's ready. And you should be able to just, you want to work really quick right now. There you go. Good enough. Now, I'm obviously new. I don't usually pour it like this. I'm doing it for the camera. Okay? So just turn the batter out into the prepared pan. Like that. Just let it all dump down in the middle. It's okay to stop, to just get the sides. Because it's really sticky. There's going to be a lot left at the bottom. Yeah, you want to just drop that in on top, because I see part of this going, and I'll pull that back. That may stick and burn that little bit, but no worries. The cake will rise quite nicely. Now you can take a slight minute to kind of work the sides a bit, but I wouldn't take too long, okay? Because it will rise up in the pan. Now pop that in to a 325 Fahrenheit, no convection for. Alright, well, it's snowing today, and it's really cold outside, colder than last time, so I actually had to leave it in for an extra 10 minutes. So I will adjust the times to 60 to 70 minutes, depending on where you are. And if it's really hot where you are, well, you can check it at 50. Okay, so get a clean toothpick, and a couple of spots. Don't lose the toothpick. Do that, and the toothpick is pretty much clean, and you don't have to worry about, yeah, it's just done, okay? Now, you're going to be frosting this, so you don't have to worry about it being like, quote, brown on top, because the paper did kind of fill over, but it's cooked, and you don't want this tough anyway, so it's fine. Alright, so I'm going to put it on a rack right now. Alright, so I got a rack set up. Now there's a couple ways you can do it. I just kind of pull the pan to the side. Notice, look at that. Just lift that out. Pan's going to still be hot, so keep your oven mitt close. You don't want to burn yourself in your excitement of how nice your cake is. So, bottom piece out first. So what you do is just put your hand here, and the paper will pull back, and do the same thing. Just put your hand here, and the paper will pull back, and then you kind of like sort of nudge it and let it fall down, and you're ready to get shell. Because you have to have this completely cold before you pour your frosting on, or it will just make a mess. Alright, so it's been about an hour. The cake is slightly warm, but I don't think the frosting is going to melt. What I do is I scoot a piece under here just to make sure it doesn't make a hideous mess. And then what you do is just get your frosting. It will have set up a bit in all that time. So kind of give it a bit of a stir. And then there's no sort of like rhyme or reason to it. I definitely start in the middle, because if you start near the edges, you'll notice it's going to flow even with it cold. Oops, there goes a piece. Now, usually I just let those go because they kind of give that, you know, genuine look to the loaf, that it's not factory made. Well, that one's a little out of control. Hang on. See, okay, you don't really want to ice it though like this, because you ruin the natural look as I ice it. What you want to do is just kind of make sure that you got some everywhere, so all the there it goes on the other side. That's the trouble with this stuff, it just goes everywhere. That's what I was saying at the beginning. If you put way too much lemon juice in, it's like you'll have no control over this, like, at all. So you just don't pick up any crumbs. All these things I'm showing you not to do, eh? Okay. last little bit on this side. You're going to have to swap out a cutting board. Okay, try not to get the icing bits. So I did want to slice it to give you a look there. For this, you're going to want some kind of butter knife. Try to come at it from this side. So I'm just going to cut off a slice so you can see the crumb. That turned out very nicely. And I'll just have a taste test here. Oh. That came out quite well. So, that's how I make lemon loaf. I hope you try this and give it a shot. Quite easy to make and it's really tasty.